Hello and welcome back. We are on chapter 4 of ReZero X Volume 1. And this is probably the most important, I feel like, for we'll say the current story of ReZero. Some of the events in here link back to things that happened in the past that aren't really covered in this volume. But there are things that are covered in later arcs past arc 5, which is the chapter season 3 that just came out for the anime. So some things in here will be important for if you're an anime only watcher. Some of the things in here will be important for later on. Now I'm going to tell the story slightly out of order from what the book does. I'm going to put it in chronological order. Hopefully I can do that. I think I understand the order of events. I'm going to hope that I get them right. But the book itself, the volume, is going to be a little bit different than the order that I put it in. The story is going to stay the same, obviously. Just the order of events that the book tells it is going to be different than what I'm going to be talking about here. Now, we learned at the end of the last chapter that Crochet took the position of head of the Karsten family, which means that she is the one that's actually in charge of the Karsten domain. And a few months after that, at least I think it's a few months. I don't know if we get an exact timeline. I don't remember there being one. But not long after she took the position, she is presented with a bit of a problem. There are rumors going around that Bean Argyle, who is Felix's dad, is participating in the slave trade, basically. He is trying to buy slaves for some reason. Now, these are just rumors as of right now, but because of the events that happened with Felix, like almost a decade ago by this point, I think, the Argyle family is pretty much non-existent. It's just being his wife, maid, and that's about it as far as the Argyle family. Technically, Felix would be is under that umbrella, but he doesn't really live with him. He doesn't like associate with him at all. So they pretty much lost all political power, a whole lot of money, a whole lot of land. There's not really much to them anymore. But still, they are a part of the Karsten domain. So slavery is not legal in Lagunica. So if they are doing something illegal, it still falls under Crochet's purview of having to deal with this problem. So she is going to be the one who has to figure out if this is an actual thing, if this is actually happening, and what punishment that needs to be done. She is discussing this with the person that found out about it, which is someone who's, what word, like a vassal, I guess, would be the best way to put it. He was a vassal under her father, and she pretty much inherited it. Not that it's like a big thing, because he or she basically grew up like with him being there, so it's she knows who it is. That's what I'm trying to say. Jesus, I'm getting myself all mixed up here. That's not important. So they're discussing what they want to do about these rumors, and what Crochet decides to do is that she wants to essentially have him spied on. Basically, because he doesn't have a whole lot of land, a whole lot of power or anything. It's just his one house at this point, and it's very easy for him to be watched at all times, which is what Crochet wants. Crochet wants basically to see whenever the slave trade person, I don't know why I'm blanking on the name of what the slave trader, I guess, whenever he comes back, and then she is going to confront both of them to see if that is actually what's happening. The current rumor is that it's happening every month or 2 months, so she's gonna have to wait for a little bit. In the meantime, while we're waiting on that, another thing that happened in the last chapter is that Felix is pretty much said to be Crochet's knight. Now, he's not exactly her knight yet, because of Crochet's position. Okay, technically, there are no rules against this. Technically, Crochet could take Felix as her knight at any point. There is nothing that says that she can't just appoint him as her knight and call it good. But this is 100% politics because of her position in the kingdom, because she is now head of the family that's pretty much second in line behind the royal family. There, she is not in a position to accept a knight that does not have experience. So again, this is purely politics and nothing else. But in order to help out with that, Felix decides that he is going to join the Royal Knights, and he is going to gain some experience there so that when he is accepted as Cruchet's knight, there won't be any problems as far as that goes. So Felix gets a meeting in with Captain Marcus. We actually see him in the anime back in the third arc whenever they have the meeting with the candidates and the council of elders. He's the one that's kind of directing the whole meeting. I'll put a picture here just so you can see him in case you need a reminder. So he is the one that is in charge of the Royal Knights. So he is the one that decides whether Felix actually gets a shot of joining or not. And how do I phrase this? So the Knights used to be more about just a position, a political position, basically, where the people in power sent their kids to make it look like they were some big shots because they were in the army, but they didn't really do anything, like that kind of thing. But currently, that's not where things are. So now it is all about merit. If you are not in the Royal Knights unless you are actually good at what you do. So Felix is kind of in a weird position. So he is trying to get into the Knights based off of recommendation and not off of anything that he has actually done, because he is not good with a sword. So, which is a big thing with the Knights. And his thing is healing. So he's not good with a sword. He hasn't really done anything overly impressive that's going to make him look amazing, or not anything that people know him for. But he is coming with a lot of recommendations, a lot of really good recommendations. One of them is Cruchet, which is pretty obvious since, she wants him to be her knight, and this is going to help out with all of that. And this is what Felix wants to do. So, obviously, she's going to back up what he wants to do. He also got a recommendation from the prince, from Fourier, which is probably doing the most heavy lifting for all of this, but it's also something that's not very surprising. Fourier recognizes what's going on, and he's probably the one pushing this more than anything. But he sent his recommendation in. And there's also two other recommendations. One from the school that's at the capital that teaches healing. They sent a recommendation saying that Felix is a good healer. And also recommendations from the healers in the actual castle, this is not said anywhere, but my guess is this is like the best of the best. I don't know why the capital wouldn't look for the best healers that they could get within the kingdom. So to me, this is the best of the best healers, saying that Felix is very much worth putting into the Knights, that he knows what he is doing. So to me, that is the most the biggest recommendation. But I also realize politically it's Fourier who's doing the heavy lifting here. So with these recommendations, Captain Marcus decides that he is going to let Felix into the Knights under a probationary period. So he is going to be there for a year, and during that time, Felix can decide that he doesn't want to do it anymore. He can leave, and it won't be a problem. And Captain Marcus can decide that Felix is just not worth keeping there, basically. So either one of them can decide just to be done anytime during that year. And if something does come up where Felix is basically kicked out, it's not going to be like a dishonorable discharge. It would be like a closer to a honorable discharge more than anything. Captain Marcus goes out of his way to say that he will make sure it's not a blemish on his record for the expressed purpose of making sure it doesn't come back to look bad for Cruchet and Fourier. Felix is all good with this. He is pretty much accepting that after this year is up, he is going to call it good and go back to Cruchet, which is what his current plan is. So either the same day or the next day, I'm not exactly sure. It's soon after his meeting with Captain Marcus. He is at the cafeteria, just eating. There's, I guess. So the way that the army is set up, it basically goes by colors, and each color represents your rank within the army. And now that I say that, I need to look up the exact coloring because I'm going to end up fucking this up. Okay, so starting from the bottom going up, there is red, blue, green, and black, and then white for the rural knights. So red would be like the low tier army, just fodder. Definitely not the right word, but that is pretty much the lowest rank is red, and then it goes up to black. And they represent themselves by wearing the color capes. So they're all wearing capes, and whatever color cape they are wearing represents where you are in the army, with white being at the top for the Royal Knights. And we see this in the anime whenever they are at the meeting with the candidates. They're all wearing whites, they're all wearing white capes because that is who they're all fucking Royal Knights. And the seating arrangement in the cafeteria kind of works with that. It's not like a hard rule, but it is something that's kind of accepted by everybody, that the lower status you are, the closer to the door you sit. So the people closest to the door are wearing the red capes, and then as you go further and further back, the capes change colors up until the furthest back in the room is the white capes. And this is where Felix is sitting. Now, again, this is like the first couple of days, the first day or first or second day that he is there. So he's just kind of by himself eating. And this is when he meets Julius. Julius comes to talk to Felix about rumors that are spreading around about him. And he comes off racist as fuck. No, I'm kidding. Wait. There's a joke. This is why I have to script my shit, because then I start just saying things for jokes. Okay, that's not exactly what happens here. There are rumors going around about Felix joining the Knights, because again there are a lot of things surrounding him that are very irregular for the Knights. Him not being good with a sword is one thing. Him being accepted in based off of recommendations and not his actual merit and things that he has done is another thing that is very off-putting, I guess would be a way to put it, for the Knights. And the third thing is that he is demi-human. This is something that came up a few chapters ago whenever Fourier and Felix went to the marriage thing with that one girl. I've already forgot her name. That Lagunica has had a problem with bigotry against demi-humans. So it's not really that surprising that some people might have a problem with Felix being in a pretty high ranking position there. This is essentially like they have basically just, not, I don't want to say freed slaves, but they've just gotten past the point of not making demi-humans sit at the back of the bus. That's kind of the closest thing that analogy that I can come to. So with all these things going against Felix, it's not really that hard to imagine someone or multiple people are going to end up bullying him, which is what Felix thinks is happening right now. Felix thinks that Julius is coming to talk to him to basically start bullying him. And which is the reason why I make the joke that he's being racist. He's not, but the way that he comes off, it seems he's starting to lean into that. And this, to clear up the suspicion, no, that's not the right word. To clear up any misconceptions, that's the word I was thinking. Reinhardt joins in. So Reinhardt and Julius already know each other. They have been friends for a little bit, but Felix knows each of them. He knows who Julius is, and everybody fucking knows who Reinhardt is. It's fucking Reinhardt. But this is the first time that Felix is meeting both of them. So Reinhardt tries to clear up the scenario of what's happening here. They are there because of bullying, but they are not trying to bully him. Because of everything that is surrounding Felix, they were given an order by Captain Marcus to basically watch over Felix to make sure that he is comfortable. It may not be the best way of putting it. To make sure that he understands what's happening, and if they have any questions, he can go to them, and to make sure that no one else tries to bully Felix. So that was the what Julius was trying to bring up. But as Reinhardt puts, he's not very good with his words, especially when first meeting someone. It's very easy for people to misunderstand what Julius is trying to do. At this point, Felix starts to notice that more and more people are looking their way. And he starts to think that maybe Captain Marcus didn't send them here to watch over him, but he's just trying to put the problem children into the same group so that they're easier to manage somehow. So this is where they start to become friends. Well, this is the first time they meet, and they start to become friends after this. We know by Arc 3 that they're fairly close. I don't want to make too much assumptions about it, but they do start to become friends from here. Oh, wait, something I forgot to mention earlier. Felix is 18 at this point. So I would imagine both Cruchet and Fourier are both 18 too. So we ended the last chapter. Cruchet was turning 17. This is roughly a year later then. Editing me coming in here to say that's probably not right. So later on in the book, it says that it's been closer to 2 years, which I am starting to agree with. I think whenever I was saying this, I was thinking that Cruchet's birthday was 17, and now Felix is 18. Therefore, it's been closer to 1 year, but that is just stupid. Because whenever Cruchet turned 17, Felix would have still been 16. So he was 16, now he's 18, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's been 2 years. But given that the book says that it's been closer to 2 years, and that timeline kind of makes more sense with Felix's birthday when I'm not mixing them up here, I think it's been closer to 2 years rather than one. So we cut back over to Cruchet, and this is one of those times when Prince Fourier comes to make a surprise visit. And I think I've said this before, but just in case, I'll repeat it. He does this all the time. Just happens to show up and visit Cruchet. We all know what he's doing. But Cruchet doesn't have a problem with it. They're friends. She is perfectly fine with hanging out with him. And she tells him about the current events that, or current rumors, I guess, that are going around about the Argyle family. And apparently, Fourier didn't know about Felix's past, and Cruchet tells him about it here, which, of course, makes him pissed off because Felix is his friend, and learning that his family treated him as fucking terrible as they did, I mean, rightfully makes him mad. But Cruchet tells him that she has everything under control and there's no reason for him to do anything. But what she does want him to do is talk to Felix every now and then. More as a, I don't want to say mental help, but that's kind of the way that she puts it. Because he is going to be away from everybody for like a whole year. So if Prince Fourier can just every now and then, like, talk to him, hang out, just give him some kind of rest from everything that's happening and give him some familiarity with someone. The prince obviously doesn't have any problem with that. They're fucking friends, so he'll talk to him anytime he gets a chance. But he does say that he does promise not to tell Felix about the current rumors that are going around unless he feels like he shouldn't. Now, Cruciate doesn't really have a problem with this. She trusts in the prince's intuition. So, if the prince feels like he should be telling Felix about all the rumors and everything, there's probably a good reason behind it. So she says, hey, that's fine. If you feel like it's better for you to tell him, then of course tell him, which is what's going to end up happening. So while they're talking, Fourier kind of works himself up a little bit and ends up coughing a whole lot to the point that Cruciate starts to wonder if he's like sick or something. Fourier pretty much dismisses it and says that yeah, he might be sick, but it's nothing. Like his brother is also getting a cough, so maybe it's just a cold that's going around or something. They don't really treat it as much. This is very obviously a sign that's going to end up coming back up. We know by the beginning of the actual story that all of the family is dead. All of the Lagunica family is dead. That is the entire reason that they are doing the candidate selection process. So, yeah, foreshadowing that's not really foreshadowing because we already know what's going to happen. A week after they talk is when the supposed slaver shows up. So she is going to go have a little talk over at the Argyle family house. And this is 10 days into Felix's time at the capital with the knights. So we cut over to Felix now. He's been there for 10 days. He's pretty much shown that he is worthy of being there. Like within the first week, no one had a problem with him being there, despite all the weird ways that he got into the knights. So the way Captain Marcus decided to handle this, because Felix is not good with the sword, he very subtly gave a way for Felix to show off. He would train the knights himself, and he would beat the fuck out of them. It's not exactly what it says, but that very much is the implication that I got from it. So he would train the knights very harsh and just beat them up basically, and then Felix would heal them. And because they were probably used to, they're probably used to losing to Captain Marcus or to whoever was training them, but now they're getting healed quickly, so they're not having to go through pain as much or as long. So they are all for Felix, the lower, not lower ranking knights, but just the general rural knights are completely okay with Felix being there because he is providing a lot of help to them. Captain Marcus, again, this is not said. This is just what I'm taking from this. I would imagine Captain Marcus is completely okay with Felix being there so that he can be harder on the knights. Not in the sense that he is trying to be like a fucking sadist or anything, but I think this allows him to train the knights harder because there's someone there who could heal them very easily. Again, not said, just what I am taking from this it could very well not be the case. So on this day, Felix and Julius are hanging out, and they're kind of talking a little bit back and forth about how Julius is too uptight and he needs to loosen up, and Felix is the opposite and he needs to stop being so loose. That's not the right wording that I want to use. He needs to be more serious. And I mean, these are the personality traits that we see later on in like arc 3 and later, so it's not really that surprising. And they get interrupted by Reinhardt. This actually shocks Felix, and this is going to take a little bit of explaining here. So Felix is a demi-human, which gives him a little bit of extra, I don't want to say like super senses, but that's kind of what it is, because he has his ears. His ears are able to pick up more changes in the environment than what most people have. So he can notice where people are, where they're moving, where even they're looking sometimes. So like when people turn to look at him, he knows it without ever having to like look at them. He can just hear the changing of the ruffling of their clothes or something. I don't know exactly how it works, but he basically has somewhat of a super hearing sense kind of thing. And this works this has worked for him for a long time. So he pretty much he has gone his entire life being able to tell where people are at all times, being able to tell what they're looking at, where they're going, even sometimes what they're saying, except when it comes to Reinhardt. Reinhardt, of course, is the exception to every goddamn rule. He is able to pretty much sneak up on Felix anytime he wants. And this has got to be. Felix is like genuinely shocked anytime Reinhardt shows up. And like I said, I would probably be too. If you are just so used to being able to tell where anyone is at any time without looking, and then all of a sudden there's just this one person who can like pop in out of existence anytime they want to, that would be shocking. Reinhardt informs Felix that he is being summoned by Prince Fourier, and Julius decides that he is going to go with him just to hang out, I guess, and like watch over Felix, even though it's not really needed at this point. Um, Reinhardt is not going to join them because he has been given orders to go to the south border. This will be important for later, but it's not going to be a surprise. It's going to be very obvious. So we'll talk about that whenever he shows back up. So Julius and Felix head towards Fourier's room, and this doesn't seem to be the first time that they've done this. So we don't get any other indication that they have done. But Julius doesn't act like this is a new thing. On the way there, they discuss their different relationships. Felix has been friends with Fourier for about 8 years now, and they're pretty close. Julius even recognizes that there's not like Felix isn't trying to be friends with Fourier for the purposes of trying to get like political clout or anything. Like even Julius recognizes that they are just genuine friends. Um, Julius has known Reinhardt, like they have met face to face for 10 years now, but they didn't actually become close until they both joined the Knights, which we don't get a timeline on that. So whenever they joined the Knights is when they started to become closer friends. So they get to Fourier's room and he dismisses his servants so that they can have a private conversation. To the point that he actually starts to question Julius too. He says that if Julius considers Felix a friend, then he'll let him stay. But if not, he's going to ask him to leave too. And Julius has a really good response here, actually. He says they've only known each other for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. So he doesn't really want to call them friends just yet because they haven't known each other for that long. But from the little time that they've had, he does want to become friends with him. And that's pretty much the answer that he gives. And both Fourier and Felix like pretty much accept that answer without a problem. So now Fourier, Felix, and Julius are in the room, and they're going to have a little bit of a more serious conversation. So the prince starts to tell Felix and Julius about the rumors that are going around about a certain place. He doesn't say the name or where it's at just yet. Felix wants to pretty much diminish what's being said because I don't know, rumors about slavery and stuff is not really like a thing that he's worried about. Like even if there's bad rumors going around, he is not worried about Crochet. So like if Crochet is going to investigate something, especially if she knows there's something up, he's not really all that worried about Crochet. So to him, just listening to this offhand, he hears it as, oh, it's just nothing. Like this is something that could be a problem, but Crochet is capable of handling it herself, so he doesn't really care. And even to the point that he says that, or he is thinking that this is just one of Fourier's moments where he just says things off the cuff and just from his intuition, and there's no reason to like think too much about it until Fourier brings up that it's at the Argyle estate. And this is when Felix finally starts to pay more attention and starts to become more worried about what's happening. So from here on, the events kind of shift back and forth between Cruchet's view and Felix's. I may end up just keeping that because a lot of these events are happening at the same time. I don't think I'm going to be able to put them in chronological order, even if I wanted to. So Cruchet goes to the Argyle estate by herself. And being Argyle is the one who actually answers the door. Remember that he only has like one maid at the moment, so if she's busy, he doesn't have anybody else to answer the door. He doesn't have like the rich people. He doesn't have a fucking greeter to open the door for whoever just decides to show up. He does apologize that his wife is not able to come greet her because she is sick at the moment. And Crochet is completely okay with that because she did show up out of nowhere, basically. And then he asks about Felix, which catches Crochet off guard. Remember, the entire reason that Felix is with Crochet now is because of how shitty they treated Felix, and they basically locked him away. So, uh, well, let me take a step back. Part of the reason that they did that is because of Felix's demi-human traits, and because that kind of the way it's implied, it's hinted of infidelity happening amongst the Argyle family. So he was basically hidden because of shame, more or less. So Crochet thought that Bean wouldn't really care all that much about Felix. I mean, given who Felix is and the way that he was treated, there's really no indication of any like familial love there. So him asking, and it kind of seems like he's genuinely like curious about what Felix is how Felix is doing. So this catches Crochet off guard, and Bean remarks that like it's kind of like just a parent's thing to be concerned about their kid, which like I said about everything else, that kind of comes off really weird because of how he was treated. That this doesn't, it's not like a huge red flag, but it is kind of a little bit of a red flag. So Bean is going to take Crochet to the parlor because his guest room is already currently taken by someone else. But Crochet wants to be taken to that room because she has business with the other person too. And Bean is completely okay with this. Like he doesn't push back. He's not arguing. There's absolutely no problem from him, which this is causing a little bit of a roller coaster with how Crochet is feeling about this moment. When she first got there, she's there because she is suspicious of what he has been doing. And I mean, Bean, he seems to just let her in. He's not like arguing, not fighting back, not surprised. He did bring up Felix, which kind of raises her alarms a little bit. But then he's not pushing back at all about her seeing his other guest. So she's now getting a little less suspicious. So they get to the room, and the maid opens the door, and she sees Crochet, and she is actually surprised by this. But Bean pretty much just dismisses as like, "Hey, it's fine. Like, just go make tea, basically." So she goes off, and Crochet and Bean go into the room to where his other guest is, and Bean introduces him as Miles. He is a supposedly a traveling merchant who deals with more specialized stuff, more rare goods, basically. So that is the story that is given to Crochet. And Miles kind of comes off like a snake oil salesman kind of way. He gives off the ick. I mean, I guess that's kind of the best way of putting it. So Crochet tries to cut to the chase. She just lets them know that she is there because of the rumors, and she is trying to figure out what is going on. Um, Miles obviously doesn't really say like anything. Like he kind of half denies it and then like apologizes for anything that has come up that makes Bean look bad. Um, and Bean kind of just dismisses what's happening. Like he just says like, "Oh, yeah, I mean he's the only person, or he is in Miles is the only person who has been coming in and out of the mansion. Like uh, the Argyle family doesn't have a whole lot of money to just be trading like constantly. So the only time that they get any kind of real visits from people is probably going to be Miles. So like if there's rumors going around about him being visited by someone suspicious, that's who it's going to be. And he says that he is not buying or selling any slaves or anything like that. Now, if we remember, Cruchet's ability is or can be used to tell when someone is lying. But the way that it's described here, it seems that's almost like that's one use of it, but it's almost like it's more of a mood ring more than anything. Like she can tell that that Bean is not very interested in this conversation. So he doesn't seem to be lying, but he also doesn't seem to be fully engaged with the conversation at all. So she's not fully dismissing what's happening. And to that, she says that she will be okay with dismissing everything if she is allowed to see what he has been buying and give like a quick look around of the place, and that she will compensate him for his time and inconvenience. um at this point, like the maid comes back with tea and everybody drinks it, except for Cruchet. And a little while later she starts to feel faint and she like falls to the ground. And this is where the ruse kind of or the veil lifts. That's what I'm trying to say. Miles explains what's happening. Basically, there's some kind of gas in the room to like make them like sleeping gas, I guess. And the antidote was in the tea that only Cruchet didn't drink. And Miles even laughs that he did that specifically because he knew that Cruchet would be suspicious of them and wouldn't want to drink tea, so he flipped it around. Um, and at this point, Bean even kind of talks about the compensation of what he actually wants. I'm just going to quote what he says. "I thank you for your cooperation, Duchess. Without you, I could never have achieved my goal. Isn't it obvious? I want back the child you stole from me. I need that boy." So it kind of seems like this was all planned out by Bean Argyle to lure in Cruchet, to then kidnap her, to then get Felix to come back to the mansion. My guess is this isn't exactly what he had planned. I think it's more likely that he had planned for both of them to show up, but that's kind of just a guess on my part. Either way, this is kind of going along with what he wants. He wants Felix back at the mansion, and that's what's going to end up happening. So Cruchet passes out, and then we cut back over to Cruchet's mansion, the Karsten estate, and Felix, Fourier, and Julius are showing up there trying to figure out what is going on. So they confront. Actually don't even know if we get the name of the guy, the person who's currently in charge of the place while Cruchet is away, basically confronting him about why Cruchet has gone off here on her own. And we learned that she's not really alone. Like she went to the building by herself, but the place is surrounded by 50 men who are ready to basically jump in on the place and take it whenever they need to. So there's a little bit of a small army that went with her, but she's the only one that actually went to the building and went inside. Poirier even mentions like this, he doesn't have any hard proof that there's anything wrong, he just has a bad feeling about it, which is going to be enough because he is the Lion King. um, so Julius, in his typical very serious fashion, is more. I won't say he's more worried, but he is definitely more worried than everyone else about what's going to happen when they get back because they did just kind of leave without really telling anyone. So he wants to make sure that the prince is going to kind of back them up, like Julius and Felix, whenever they get back, and try to explain to Captain Marcus what happened so that they don't get punished too much for it. Um, Fourier says he'll give his word, but that doesn't mean Captain Marcus is going to care. So Felix is very, very upset about the situation, and Fourier tries to get him to calm down a little bit, and in the process, he starts coughing again, foreshadowing. And Felix is a really good healer. He could probably figure out what's going on just from like touching his hand and then like sending a little bit of mana through it. He could get all the information that he needs to figure out what's going on. And I think Fourier even recognizes this. So like as soon as Felix starts to reach for him to like check on him, make sure he's okay, Fourier pulls back real quick and is like, "Hey, I'm fine. Don't worry about it." Again, this is just more foreshadowing. And before they can really uh, go, before Felix can really make a big deal about it, somebody else bursts into the room. Like no one that we know, it's just a random guy. But he exclaims what's happening at the mansion. So Cruchet hasn't come out. She is still stuck at the Argyle estate. But now there is another army attacking Cruchet's army outside. And apparently he's saying it's an army of dead people. And this is why I say I think this is kind of important for the ReZero story. This is, in fact, not the first time in the ReZero history that zombies have been used. I'm not going to talk about that event just yet. That's a completely separate story that has to do with the demi-human war. So it was before all of these events. But we're going to learn more about the specific spell that goes into this. So we'll get to it when we get to it. So past me decided to take a break at this point and come back the next day so that I didn't lose my voice or anything. And I wasn't really paying attention to how long I was talking, and I didn't know how much longer I was going to be talking, because I apparently have another 50 minutes of me talking about just this chapter. So instead of leaving this to be an almost 2 hour video, I think I'm just going to cut this up here and make a part two. So come back in the next video and you'll get the rest of this chapter. See ya.